Woo! Okay, this is what we make. And at first I didn't like it, but then I started copying and pasting. And anyways, you guys are always saying that you kind of want like a long tutorial, and I'm like, no. But today we're doing it. Look, also there's a boat. There's a boat. Hey, okay, so made this shot last night. Which felt really good because the previous shot I spent a month on to make 20 seconds, and I was like, at this rate, this is going to take me, 6 years to finish the next episode. But because I'd already made all the assets, this one I just had to kind of set things up and tweak the composition a bit. So I'm really happy. I said in the previous video that I would talk about making this kind of megastructure thing back here. And here, yeah, it's got all these lights blinking and all of that. And a few people saw this and said, wow, you must have like a crazy supercomputer, and it's not bad, but also this is a very low poly scene, actually. I've got all the objects here, and the rest of these arms are just other instances of that first arm. If you're using instances of something, like right here, I have this one object, but you can see it's used everywhere, and that means the computer only has to hold it once, which means it's really easy to have a very complex looking scene that the computer can handle really easily. And that's how I treated basically all of this. You can see, like, here's the body of the thing is just this very, fairly low poly core, and then I have some wireframe modifier stuff going on here, and then I have some video textures, which I filmed down at the water, and they just add a lot of life. I really like it. On hot nights, the air gets kind of tumultuous, and so this makes it feel like it could be kind of a warm evening, which I dig. I guess it wouldn't make that much sense if you're actually out in space or something, but this isn't actually like a spaceport. This is just supposed to be like kind of an in-atmosphere deal. The thing about it, though, is that it looks kind of cool when you first see it, but then there's nothing else to see once you've looked at it. Like, there aren't actually any more details to see. It's just the same kind of few bits. It's the same couple cranes and things over and over, which is kind of cool for getting that like initial gee whiz type feeling, but it doesn't, I don't know, it's not exactly the way I like working as much anymore. In fact, I had a shot, that's set up like this, but you can see all of this is fairly low poly. So I ended up raiding some old project files to get this kind of scaffold type deal right here. Actually, at some point, I should go through and I should just make a collection video of all of these shots I made for episodes I'll probably never release. I've got so many of these, but yeah, I stuck that bit right in here, and it's exactly, it's here and here and here and here and here and here and here, and the same with like the cranes. I don't model a bunch of cranes, it's all just the same crane over and over, and the same with all these background boats and all of that. This main boat is, again, it's just the same boat over and over, but I tried to alternate a few things about it, like where the superstructure is. A couple years ago, I made a lazy tutorial talking about how to make a city really quickly, where you just basically project some pictures of windows onto a bunch of cubes, and look at that, it looks like a city. But I'm not really into that mindset anymore, just because there's nothing about this that draws you in. You look at it and your brain immediately goes, yes, that's a city, but it doesn't tell any sort of story or anything like that. It could work good for far background stuff, but so I've tried to avoid that, and I've tried to stay more in like the nitty-gritty of actually designing individual buildings, because I feel like that's where kind of the story and the excitement is. But at the same time, sometimes it is really fun to just really quickly make a big, cool, complicated looking thing, even if it doesn't, hold up to scrutiny. So after that long intro, let's get into it. Okay, so first I want to try doing something kind of minimal, like maybe just sort of some big brutalist skyscraper that's like mostly concrete with like little like windows, rows of windows kind of peeking out. And to do that, I want to start with a parking lot just to make life easy. And I have a parking lot from the car asset that I put out on the Patreon a little bit ago. Auto asset. I think I just bring in the objects here. Light post in the parking lot, and it's already nice and big. I dig it, and I think I want to have an HDRI going that looks sort of duskish. I think that'll work well. So I'm going to load in an environment texture, open. This one's already a parking lot, so let's go with that one. Cool, and I might make it like dimmer, kind of like that. Ooh, yeah, we'll see how that works. It is here. Let's figure out a camera angle too. I want to be looking across this entire parking lot. I want it to feel like just a weird community college. No, I say that only because I went to this very bizarre brutalist community college, which is this big cement thing designed by like this prison architect, and it kind of felt like it. Okay, so this, I think you can see too many trees, so I'm going to go into the shader editor here, and I have the Oh, let's go into world. I have the Node Wrangler add-on activated, so I can just select this texture here and hit Control T, and it'll bring up these other mapping nodes. And then I think I can just scale on the Z-axis. Yeah, I think I could also like offset. Actually, yeah, let's do both. Kind of liked how that looked. Cool. Yeah, and that way we just don't see as much of the ground going on there. Save it. And now let's actually make our skyscraper here. I'm just gonna make a big cube. Look at that, we're done. Little brutalism joke. Now I'm gonna drag it all the way out here, and let's just try making it something kind of like that. That's kind of cool. And I might actually have like a little recessed area underneath here. Cool. And also, I do apologize. On the first take, I did turn on screencast keys, but then Blender crashed and I lost everything because I hadn't saved. And so this is take 2, and I forgot to turn them on. However, this is only part 1. For part 2, there will definitely be the screencast keys. Cool. And to make the grooves, I'm going to hit Control R to add an edge loop, scroll up a few times to add a few more of them, apply that, and then Control B to bevel them all out, and then just Alt E, extrude faces along normals to recess them a little bit. And it's making them very small. So I'm going to scale Shift Z so it scales on every axis but the Z axis, which works pretty well. And I think I want to add some greebles to these grooves here. So I'm going to turn on the Discombobulator add-on, which it might already be activated, but it comes with Blender. It's not activated by default though. Discombobulator, there, okay, good. And that's going to add some extra geometry to any selected faces. So let's make sure our grooves are all selected here. Hit F3, Discombobulator, or it looks like we can just hit Shift-A, Mesh, Discombobulate. Gives us some options. I think I like that, and I don't like that. That's no good at all. Let's apply the scale here, and let's try that one more time. Okay, and it looks like it's taking each face and dividing it up into 1, 2, 3, or 4 different panels. And so if we want to get more results there, I'm going to add some more geometry for it to work with as a starting point. And now I just can like alt-click on all of these different grooves here and discombobulate. Okay, there we go. That's kind of interesting. And just a final note on the discombobulator, like you could use it to make a city. Like let's subdivide this a few times. Double tap I, so we're insetting each thing like this. So it's kind of like a city block system. Right click, subdivide that. And then if we do the discombobulator on it, let's see. I don't know how high this is going to be, but if we scale that up a little bit, and then if like maybe we'll make this dark building, and we'll make this ground plane emissive, so it looks like it's like the lights of the street kind of shining up. Let's see. Go to cycles, and I don't know. Okay, let's try adding a texture here. It creates the discombobulation bits as a different object, so I'm gonna select both of these and hit Control J to join them. New material, and I'm just gonna load in a image texture here. I want to find something that I can kind of maybe line up with those recessions to look as if grime is maybe coming out of them or something. It's just the only place where there's going to be some detail, so I want to use it if I can. This could work. This could work okay. Open image. Right now it's just applying it in kind of a nonsense way. So let's open up our UV editor here. Bring up our concrete. Just select all of this and hit U, cube projection. And now it's doing its own thing. That's actually kind of cool. This is... I kind of like that. I might even like that more than what I was gonna do, which was take all of these and scale them up. I'm going to do as many steps as I can right now before I start working on each one separately. There we go. Something kind of like this. I'll just apply all of these to be in this same kind of area. There we go, so now all of them have their, just a little bit of grime kind of looking like it's coming out of the craft. I don't think it actually works all that well, but that's fine. Let's see, how does this look rendered? Let's change it to cycles. And this actually still looks very bright. I want this to be nice and dim, maybe like 0.1. Ooh, yeah, that's looking okay. Okay, so actually let's scale the whole thing a little bit more vertically. I want it to feel like it's actually made out of cubes. I'm going to change the dimensions of the camera here, just under resolution. Let's make it 1080 by 1080, just so we're working with something kind of nice and square, because that I want the whole thing to just feel very square and artificial. Okay, now the fun bit. I want to add some... Actually, first, let's... you can see the specular is kind of like making it shiny, and I don't want that. I'm just going to turn that off. If you can actually add, you know, tweak the specular maps, it adds a ton, but sometimes it's better to have no specular map than one that's not doing what you want. But yeah, let's add in some lights right here. I'm going to hit F3, images as planes. I'm just going to load in a picture of like a city, and I have these assets I made by filming the distant shoreline of some water by my house with some buildings and stuff in there, and I released them as an asset. I think they're called Water Harbor because they loop and all that, but you can use any picture you find online or you film with your phone or anything. I like using footage because you get this actual natural twinkle going on, but you don't have to do that. Let's try Water Harbor here. And so now it's just here on this plane. Let's go into shader editor mode and back into object. And here, I'm actually going to delete the Principal BSDF shader and just plug it straight into this add shader, which effectively turns the video texture into an emissive material, even though we don't have an emissive material going on here. And if we add the values that are behind to that, suddenly we get effectively like a blend mode. It's like an additive type screen or additive blend mode, which is really cool. I'm going to hop into... Let's hop into here, and I'm going to use Control-R to start adding some edge loops here to divide it into useful bits that I might want to scatter around. Like, here's a good one. I like this little clump right here. Let's have one that's this entire row. Yeah, that's gonna be handy. Maybe one more that's just like that and like that. Cool, and I'll delete all of these, hit all of the, select all of these and hit P, separate by loose parts, which makes each one its own object, but they have the origin over here, so I'm going to select all of them and hit right click and say, set origin to geometry, so now they all rotate how you expect. So I've got these, and I've got this guy. I'm going to select them and go into local view just to make my life a little bit easier. And let's see, I think this one I want to have down here, kind of along the ground. In fact... Yeah, that adds a lot. In fact, I want to really kind of milk that. I'm going to duplicate that, make it taller. UV editor. Just trying to get a little, like, just add more lights and things kind of happening down here at the base. I think it'll add more visual interest. I want it to really look dense and in the distance as if there's a lot happening and then there's one dark building sticking up out of the top of it. Okay, now that we have that, though, let's go back into local view and arrange all of these guys here. That's good. You're actually going to rotate it 180 degrees and offset it like a little. Cool. Let's slip this one in there too. Maybe I'll just rotate it again 180 degrees so it doesn't look too copied and pasted. And yeah, that'll be a nice one. In fact, let's see. Do we have a? I might stick this right up here at the top and kind of see what happens. That one's lined up good. We got to grab all these and slip them back into the grooves. I really want them back there, like, in the actual groove. And what is this last one here? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, let's... Actually, maybe I can just stick that one up here at the top. It might be too... Yeah, we'll find out. It might not work very well. And, ooh, while we're here, let's hit F3. Images as planes do the exact same thing, but with just red light blink. And you can use, again, any red dot that you want, but where is it? There we go. It's just this nice radio tower blink that I got one time. We go into the shader editor, do the exact same thing, turn this into an add shader, and we're going to add that to a transparent. And now it'll just add to whatever's behind it. So, stick it up here in the corners. And to be honest, this texture is not glimmering quite as much as I would have hoped. The red lights are adding quite a bit, I think. But here, let's select all of this and put it into this other groove right here too. Yeah, and how's this look? And yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's add a little bit. Actually, what's fun with this stuff is once you've made one, you can just duplicate it. And now it looks like you've done twice as much. We'll slide that over like that. And one thing I like to do, just to make things look even bigger, is I like to add kind of as if like a street glow down below. Do I have denoising on? Let's do that. That's gonna add quite a bit. So I'm gonna add just a plane here, set it up down below the buildings. I like ground level. Gonna give it a new material here, and let's try doing like emissive, like a orange or something. Yeah, that's cool. Only thing left to do, I think, is add a little bit of volumetric haze to really make the whole thing feel big. So I'm gonna add a big cube here. Uh-oh, I lost my cube. Come back, cube. Scale it to cover the entire scene. Cool. Give it a new material, and in the shader editor, we're going to delete the principled BZDIV and plug in the volume scatter right there into the volume. If you plug it into the surface, it will not work very well. And right now, it's just it looks like a big, you know, solid cube because the density is so high. So let's change this to like 0.001. See how that works. And that's looking pretty good. Actually, let's widen. Let's grab the camera here and widen the view just a bit. Come on, let me grab the camera. It used to be easier to grab the camera, I swear. I don't know what changed. And let's also, under the, where are these render settings? I can never remember what, like, the output properties and the render settings, where things are stored sometimes. Let's change filmic to, like, medium-high contrast and turn the exposure down just a tad. That's looking pretty good. Makes me think we could use a little bit more haze, though. Ooh, that's nice. I'm going to grab this texture here, though, and put in a math node here, and maybe multiply it by, like, 4, just to get those values back. Did that get rid of my color? It might have gotten rid of my color, but maybe that's okay. Okay, we'll do it. We'll just plug this into an emission shader into the color, and we'll change the strength to like 7, and that way we get to keep our saturation. Actually, I want even more saturation. Let's use a color. Crank this up to like 5. See, ooh, that was it. That was what we were looking for all along. I think the final thing I want is this reflecting in the parking lot just a little bit more. So let's change the roughness here. Black is what's going to be really shiny, and right now none of this is black. So actually, I'm going to turn off the haze for a second because it's because it's going to be slowing everything down. So I've got this, and let's just let this be darker. Yeah, that looks a little better. And so now let's see how this looks. Bring back the haze. And all right, yeah, I think that looks kind of cool. But it's not what I said we were going to be making. I don't even know why we made this. This would be like a big brutalist building material. So let's try to make a little spaceport. Okay, here we go. I keep stalling a little bit because I don't know how this is going to come together, and so I'm like, but this is the idea. It's like a 10-kilometer across space flywheel. It's like an inertial capacitor, and so they store up. I'm gonna have, you know, just like 100 square miles of solar panels around it, kind of like this ocean, and it's putting all of this energy into this giant flywheel. And whenever they need to, they can just siphon off a massive amount of power. Just that'd be kind of cool. But I think I'll have the inside be fairly well built up, and the outside will have kind of more of a scaffold type feeling. I want it to feel kind of 50% scaffold, 50% like aircraft carrier, battleship superstructure, and so it's just going to be a massive platforms and control rooms and things. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to set up a cylinder here with 8 sides so that I can kind of get a sense of what I'm working with. I'm going to rotate this 22.5 just to square it up here. And so this is basically the area I'm working with. Then I'm going to rotate it 7 more times around the outside here. I'm going to invert the selection. I'm just doing this for reference, basically setting up my own wireframe outline. So anything we do in here, or, you know, like that, will propagate around there. So let's create a cube. Yes. And yeah, I guess we'll just have a central kind of ring thing like this. I'll try to match the contours of that just a tad. Here I get to just kind of play around with the different shapes. I'm gonna add a kind of a big platform right here, and I'm thinking again in terms of like decks of like a the deck of an aircraft carrier or something like that. Just like very, very large, like landing platform type deal. In fact, if I do this, I could duplicate this and have each one of these be, you know, a floor or something like that. But let's see. And I want it to, again, not feel as if it was designed for anything aesthetically. This is all just for, it's kind of a military-esque thing where they engineer it to do exactly what it needs to do, so it's been built onto and all this stuff, but none of it has any, it's not having to be aerodynamic or sleek for flying in an atmosphere. Let's see, Alt-E, extrude along normals. Yeah, and here, should it go down also? Let's actually, yeah, we'll extrude this down. Select this loop and Alt-E, extrude along normal. Yeah, okay. I'm just really trying to make the make it look complex. I don't want to be able to look at it and get a sense of what's going on. I'm really trying to keep it kind of confusing silhouette-wise. Hello, future Ian here. So I'm going into it intentionally trying to obfuscate my lack of a plan by just building the entire thing out of greebles, which ended up just leading me to a frustrating situation for basically the entire process. It ended up okay, but I highly recommend doing a quick sketch or something like that, just so you get a sense of the basic forms they're going after. Like, do a little design work. It really does help you. The reason this other one came together so easily is because I did know more or less what I wanted it to look like, as opposed to this where I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna make a thing, we'll see how it goes. Let's pull this down, do kind of what we did with that skyscraper, but backwards. Control B, Alt E, extrude faces along normals, grab a couple of these here, and pull them out, and maybe, yeah. So the big thing is right now I'm working with the big slabs. To really make this work, I'm going to need lots of micro details too, but we're going to try to do all of that, I think, with the wireframe modifiers and textures and stuff. I guess I could add a landing type bay here. I like that. If I do this, and here, I'll just extrude these in and down and pull out these bits. Yeah, that could work good. Finally, I've kind of found an idea that I'm actually trying to model instead of like basic shapes, which I think was kind of what was throwing me to begin with. And that goes out like that, which isn't normally great, but I think in this case I will be fine with it. Which means here, let's add some runways. I don't know why, it's in space. Is there gravity? I don't know. I actually don't know. Normally I have kind of a sense, but in this case I think they have some sort of gravity here. But in fact, it's I think they have this special super dense material. Here, let's add one of those diagonal runways like they have on aircraft carriers. I think they have some super dense material that yeah, that's kind of cool. That they use as kind of a slab, a high density slab, and that simulates or generates gravity. I don't know. Grab some of these. These will be little hangers also. Extrude in. Let's add a big kind of cantilevered room out here. Extrude. Whoa. Can do this same maneuver again. I like having these platforms like this, and I might add just a bunch of lights underneath of all of these platforms just to quickly add a lot of detail. What else should we do here? Let's make this, yeah, as if it's maybe like a bridge or something. I do like this stage a little bit, just in that there aren't really wrong answers. Like, you could sit around forever and like sketch this out and design the whole thing and actually make everything kind of make sense, which is fun and probably actually a good idea. But if you don't do that, that's my first rounded bevel I've done this whole thing. That's looking kind of interesting. There's a lot I could probably do beyond this. Sorry, I'm actually like trying to figure out a whole bunch as I do this. I'm like designing it in my head, which means my talking has become a little bit background. But so we could really quickly just select everything, double tap I, and get this kind of panel look right here, which actually is kind of cool. But I think I might not do that. I'm going to keep everything a little bit low poly just for a while longer. And let's try putting a texture on this. I think I don't actually like this beam coming out here. I think I could if I did this, though. Yeah. Okay. So we'll save that, create a new material here, give it an image texture, and we're just going to find something that looks kind of like... I actually have a texture of a battleship I made at one point. Oh, there it is! I always edit out me hunting through the file browser because that is boring. Open image, and if we go into material preview, we can see that all of our extrusions have made it crazy. So let's select everything and hit U, cube projection, and that looks pretty bad. So let's slide open a new panel here, open the UV editor, and try to put it somewhere a little more interesting. I mean, I could just stick it all. There's actually some negative space in this one. This is like, oh, I guess there isn't. That's just a different ship kind of in the background. Well, it's still like a brighter value, so this is probably a good way to go about it. And this is where we get to decide if we actually want to, how much detail we want to put into the texturing. Like, I like this. I actually love this kind of scaffold deal. If we go through and grab like this loop right here and stick it right there, then we get this nice kind of little, you know, we get to actually pick where the details are. But I don't even know if I want to do that so much. In fact, is this the texture that I want? Yeah, ooh, look at this. I like this bit right here. Let's grab this, and I'm gonna do my silly thing where I just grab these and hit SX-1 to mirror it, so I can just fold it over and use it, you know, multiple times. But yeah, that's actually pretty good right there. I might do that for all of these loop areas. Alright, and with all of those selected, I'm going to go to a side view and hit U cylinder projection, which should, yeah, just kind of unwrap it as if you're, you know, unrolling a paper towel tube or something. So I've got this. I'm going to just stack all of these up so they're all, you know, in the same place. And I'm going to mirror it, because it's not that big of a, I like this little trellis area, but it's actually not that big. Here, undo half of it. SX-1. Grab these larger bits here, and maybe just, yeah, just trying to coalesce the whole thing so it'll all kind of fit in that area. And let's see what happens if we stick this here. That's kind of, yeah, that's fine. Okay, now let's try to do some scaffolding. And I think actually I'll probably be, here, if we open up the shader editor, I'll probably desaturate this a little bit. In fact, I might even desaturate and turn down the value to make it all a little darker, because I want it to hold its form, but I don't really want it to be too visible. Like, I don't actually want people to see what these textures are at all. Well, actually, let's maybe do we're going to be, right, so far I've avoided adding any sense of human scale. You don't really know how big this thing is, and as soon as we add a railing, it's going to become very obvious how big it is. Which means we're showing our hands a little bit, and also means now we'd have to be more consistent because, you know, we have a scale to maintain. But at the same time, adding railings is a very quick and easy... I'm just alt-clicking on all these edge loops here. And it's just such a quick way to add detail. So with all of these selected, I'm going to hit Shift-D to duplicate them, P, separate them out into a new object. So now we just have all of our railings here. I'm going to right-click, subdivide, maybe... No, not yet, because we still have a few faces in here. I'm going to extrude up the height of a person, which I guess it's that big. I'm going to hit X. Right now we have a few faces here, and if I subdivide it, we'll get, like, random bars going across. So I'm going to delete all of the faces, which should still leave, yeah, just the railings here. Actually, why is that one still there? I'm going to hit Shift-G, select by similar normal again, and delete all of those faces. So now we only have the horizontal stuff. And if I I probably could have... Right now, there's only going to be a support wherever there's a vertical bar, which means, here, I'll show you. If I go into the modifiers and add a wireframe modifier, there isn't actually a lot of geometry there, whereas if I go in and I do that, suddenly there's a lot of supports. And so I was trying to think, is there an easy way for me to subdivide all of that without going through and just adding this to every single segment? And there probably is if I'd done it before. I can just right-click subdivide, but that's also going to add the horizontal ones here, which is maybe actually... Oh, that's actually okay. Cool. All right. That's nice. And now we have our first bit of human scale, which is kind of fun. And I'm actually just realized I'm modeling this with the assumption that this would be a big bulky thing and then would turn into kind of a narrow ring, which goes against my original plan, which was here. Let's just do it. I'm going to select these and hit Control-G to make a group. Click right there, and this will be 1/8 of the madness. 1/8 of the madness? But now, if I hit Shift-G collection instance, I can just bring up 1/8 of the madness. And right now, it's starting at... It appeared at the 3D cursor, but I actually have everything centered around the world origin. So I'm going to hit Alt-G to clear all translations. And if I rotate... Let's see, what's 360 divided by 8? Let's find out. 360 divided by 8. Equals 45. Oh, yeah, of course. I knew that. So rotate 45. Duplicate R45. Duplicate R45. I can also just hold down Control. So let's see how this looks. This is very dense, isn't it? Yeah, this is maybe... I think I might have to go to my original idea and just... Or the idea I was just talking about. And... have one big one and then a few other smaller things kind of wrapping around. Or maybe opposite. I don't know. Because that doesn't look particularly cool. Let's add some light panels underneath here. I think that could be really cool. I'm going to select a face pointing down, hit Shift-G, select by normal, so now we have all of the downwards faces. And I'm actually going to hit I to inset here. And if you're not insetting each individual panel, just hit I again. It toggles between the two. But yeah, now if I extrude them up, we've got this nice kind of just reinforced look right here. Cool. And while I have all of these selected, I'm going to create a new material. And actually, let's see, what's the best way to do this? I'm just going to duplicate the existing one, but create a copy of it here. And this will be the big material with lights. Yes, and I'm going to assign it to all of these new selected faces. But that means, here, let's actually, I'm going to hit Control-T because I have Node Wrangler still enabled. And I'm going to plug this into emission strength. Yeah. And I'm going to load open a picture of the city. Here we go. Let's just reuse this Windows texture again. And we'll see what it does. Right now it's going into there. The emission is black. If we make it brighter, though, do we see anything? Yeah, we do. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to use this mapping node here and just scale these to be like 15, 15. Whoa, that's way too dense. I'll dial it in a little bit. And actually, let's plug the color into the emission color too, just see how this looks. So now I just have some. Keep scaling it. That's kind of interesting. It's maybe too uniform. I could always just grab some of these and like the ones that don't make any sense, or just random ones, and assign them back to the original. Here, we'll just call this big material. Most of my objects have some sort of big material on them, and these are all lined up, which is, actually, that's fine. I think that'll be okay. But what's cool about this, if we go into cycles, and let's see, I'm going to use a math node here, converter math into the strength, multiply by, like, 5, and let's see what happens. And now it's actually a, let's see, change to GPU and turn on the denoising. But now it's actually going to be, if we make this like really bright, casting light on itself, which is kind of cool. I do want to try doing that saturation trick again. Color, saturation. Woo! I like getting these random colors like this. I wonder if we shift the hue too, if we can get some. Oh, that's pretty slick. Maybe too slick, perhaps. You'll just turn this down so we're kind of splitting the difference just a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. Now comes some of the other fun stuff. I'm gonna create a cube. This is gonna be our scaffold. So anywhere there's an edge is going to be a beam. You know, it's the wireframe modifier. So we add this, and if I add some edge loops here, you know, we get to keep them like that, which is a weird way to think about modeling actually. Because normally you're thinking about the faces, not just the edges, but I kind of like it. You can get used to it really quick. And it's also just the easiest way to add detail like that. Let's try adding an antenna at the top, like this, and we can just pull this up, scale it down, add some edge loops, and if we want, we can select all of these and hit F3, triangulate, which, look at that, it turns into like a little radio tower deal, which is nifty. In fact, with that done, let's just keep working on this a little bit. Let's add a cube. We can add like a little walkway thing. Here we'll add a little support. And then we'll grab these outer ones. We're going to make another railing. Cool. Maybe he has like a little sub like antenna thing here. Yeah. Yeah, working with wireframe modifiers are so fun. And once we have this, we can do another one like this. We'll be covering these with lights and stuff later. That'll be good. And now that I'm kind of focusing on this little area, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna add some edge loops here and extrude this stuff out, and like maybe, I guess I shouldn't add a door, but anything just to kind of add a little bit more detail to what we've got going on. Yeah, now this is all looking a lot more interesting. Since it is kind of military, I don't want to go too smooth. Actually, never mind. That looks cool. And I'll try to add like a channel of lights going along in here. Still trying to add as many of these little platforms as stuff as I can. You can see I worked a little bit backwards here because like I already started texturing and adding lights and stuff to all of this, which means I might have to retexture it if it ends up it doesn't work very well. But I'm not particularly worried. What is this bit gonna be? I don't know. Nothing. It's a diving board. You gotta have a diving board. Okay. Let's add another kind of entrance here too. In fact, I guess we could add a few doorways at once. Dun, 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 dun. Got that. And ooh, one thing I could do, I'm going to hit Control Plus here and grab the big material with lights, assign, and because we extruded some, they will be a little stretched, but I can just hit U, cube projection, and look at that, now we have these little bay lights. Actually, they look a little bit weird, don't they? Let's see if we can fix that a little bit. Yeah, there we go, just a little bit more human scaled. Yeah, I like it. And for interest, what we should probably do is create a variation on this one, like an orange one, because orange lights always feel kind of nice. So I'm going to create another slot here, load in the material with lights, create a copy of this. This will be the big material with orange lights. Assign that to these interior bits, and I am going to get rid of this and just say color mix RGB, and I'm going to use just a little blending mode here. We're going to multiply it by orange. There we go. Maybe turn down the factor just a little bit. So now we have some warm lights coming from it too. And I like that kind of the purple and the orange. In fact, I think I like that so much. I'm going to make that like the whole shtick, you know? I'm going to add a bunch of those. You can see right here I'm just prepping where all the different bays are going to be so that then I can go in and like grab all of these and extrude all in one quick go. Okay, and with all those selected, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Alt-E, extrude faces along normals. Control plus to expand the selection to fill the entire bay here. And now let's apply more of our orange lights. In fact, I probably want to do that to all of these back areas too, because I don't think they got the special light treatment. So got that selected. Control plus. Yes, that's good. We'll grab these upper areas too. Assign it to the orange lights, and let's see how that's looking. I think the scale is still going to be kind of weird. Actually, that's not bad. It's maybe a little bit weird that the floors have the lights, and I can always fix that really easily by just hitting Shift-G, you know, select by normal, and assigning that all back to the big material. And there we go. Now the floors don't have any lights. This is kind of fun. Sorry, I don't mean to sound... I don't know if that's off-putting when I'm like, hey, look, this is turning out kind of cool. It's like, oh, yeah, you think that thing you made is looking kind of cool? It's like, yeah, otherwise, why would I be doing this? This is fun. Okay, let's keep adding some scaffold bit here. I want a lot of scaffold right here to kind of fill in this hole to support this area. So let's line this up. Let's kind of have it wrapped in the scaffold just a little bit. Excellent, and you'll get a better sense of what this looks like if we like link the materials, so it's all kind of dark, and you can see it isn't actually that distracting when it's not white. In fact, it's actually fairly subtle. Actually, one thing I want to do really quick is put some sort of specular detailing on here. So I'm going to hit Control-T with because the node wrangler is doing a thing. Right now, it automatically just puts it into the next empty slot, which means I've loaded stuff in the subsurface scattering slot. But I want to go into the roughness, so I can load in my own. I want something that's a little bit cubic, like maybe this, so we get it. Kind of just adds more. Yeah, that makes it feel a little bit more orderly. It's still a little bit too specular, so I might throw in a color ramp node here and dial it in. Black is perfectly shiny and white is perfectly rough, and so I can kind of do this, and so there's shiny bits, but also... Yeah, that adds quite a bit, I think. Okay, now let's try to make an actual... We've been cheating a little bit too much. I want to model at least one good, proper bit that we can stick on here. So let's go F3, images as planes. And I feel like we've been cutting a few too many corners, so I want to actually model a proper little asset that we can just really, really get our money's worth out of. Import F3, images as planes. And I'm going to load in this same texture here. It's something I've already modeled before, but I've used it so many times that I think it might make sense to remake it here with you guys. So this is that same, you know, battleship texture. And this one little trellis that we were... Come on, let me grab it. This one little bit here, I think I really, really enjoyed. So I'm going to tab into edit mode and use K to get the knife tool. And I'm just going to start cutting this out. If you hold down Shift, it lets you move things. It doesn't try to snap as much, which helps a lot of times. You can still zoom in and scroll around and all of that, which is nice for fixing the view. I like working really close. Also, every once in a while you want to apply it, because sometimes it'll just like something will get messed up and you'll just lose all of this cut that you've already made. So like right here, I might just do this bit right here. Bam, there we go. Gonna get the negative space. I want to cut out these trellis bits. Actually, abort that. So let's trace around here. Enter to apply. Okay. Oh. Okay. And it can be a little messy. I don't think there's anything else that like I'd want to say. Like if you ever want to snap to a 90-degree angle, you know, you can, or 45-degree angle, you can hit C and that turns it to like that, which can be really handy. But otherwise, I will just see you in a minute. I will say this is all about the silhouette, and so as many little doodads and things, like if we trace this, we're gonna really see this. It's not even really about the texture or the details we're capturing, it's just about the shape that we're making. And okay, so stuff got a little bit sloppy here. I think I can select some of these and hit Control X to dissolve without too many issues. We will, I don't know. But I'm going to delete everything that we don't want, including these bits here. Cool. And with all this selected, and with that deleted, I'm going to hit A, extrude, which is giving me this wacky situation here. So we're going to go under the material settings, down to viewport display, and just uncheck show back face, and that fixes it. Although actually we don't want it to go that far here. To add some quick detail, we could inset like this, and Alt E extrude faces along normals, just kind of to add that, and that's actually kind of interesting. We could grab some of these edges and extrude them out a little bit more, just to add, you know, real quick depth, which I appreciate. Again, we're never actually going to see most of these details, so I'm not worried if we're getting texture stretching or anything like that. Although that's maybe a little bit much, but yeah, I won't do that. But I could duplicate this bit right here. Here, let's add a little more geometry. Connect from there to there. Yeah, now we just have this nice bit, and we can make this even more interesting, like that. So you make a few pieces like this, and you can see right now the specular is really making it look really flat. If I turn that down, suddenly we just get the texture without, you know, getting any weird highlights. I could, if I wanted, like... if I wanted, you know, let's add a knife tool here and another cut here, and I'll grab these, Control B, extrude out, just add more detail. But I think this is actually pretty good right here. I am going to link this material because they're using the exact same texture. I can just click on this, or I can change this material to big material, and it'll just borrow that and not really change much. Okay, right click, set origin to geometry, but now we have an actual model that we can start sticking places, and it won't just look like it's, you know, the wireframe modifier over and over. Like, that already adds so much, and our brains aren't great at recognizing these sorts of patterns if we flip them, and so we can just stick this absolutely everywhere. We can beef up everything that we didn't really like before. You just go absolute bananas. And can you imagine if you made like 4 pieces like this? Like, you can make so much stuff so quick just with 4 random, not easy to see if they're... That's the other thing too, is like, don't put a red light on it or anything, because if it's easy to see a paste point, that really limits your ability to, you know, copy paste it. And okay, I am officially tired of these purple lights. I might just select, go into edit mode, and with that selected, I'm going to select all of them and just assign them to the orange one instead, and see if that, yeah, that feels a little more natural, doesn't it? And we'll still have a chance to add in a little bit more variety. Oh yeah, okay, I like that so much more. Then well, I'm going to keep going nuts with this little guy. And now let's do the fun bit. Material preview, F3, images as planes, and I'm going to load in one of my pictures of the twinkly lights. Do I want to do Water Harbor or the Universal Twinkle? The Universal Twinkle is very convenient. I also have radio towers. I'm probably going to use all of these. Let's start with Water Harbor, and you guys have already seen me do this a couple times here. Just turn this into an add shader, plug in the transparent. Cool. And here we'll get rid of this water reflection. A lot of times the water reflection is actually really, really handy, but we don't need it in this case. But let's divide this up into a few useful bits. That's good. I want to keep these highlights here. These little bright bit spots are really handy. Yeah, so let's just see how that works right from the get-go. P, separate by selection, right-click, set origin to geometry. Wait, what? Oh, P, separate by loose parts. There we go. Now right-click, set origin to geometry, and let's start having fun sticking these guys everywhere. Here, let's work on the bridge first. Oh, do you see that? That's great. These guys get to go in here, and now suddenly it looks like everything is full of lights and life. Well, color, RGB curves. You can see a little bit, there's kind of an edge here. If I just drag the black level over here on this RGB curve, whoa, is this doing a negative thing? Like, is it inverting the values and so it's actually trying to add a negative value because of that? I don't know. Just drag that down. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. How does this look rendered? It's coming along. I think all of these glowing areas down below aren't actually helping us. They're kind of just muddying up the whole thing. It was me trying to do a little bit too much too quick, I think. So can I just... Hey, great, they're still selected. I'm going to get rid of all of them except for, like, maybe a couple that I think might actually make sense in the design. Like, these will be... Yeah... Okay, and I'll assign all of these back to just the original big material. So now I have a couple little, you know, rooftop lights like that, but not too many. I do want these lights to be affecting a little bit more, and I guess I'm going to do the exact same thing I already discovered on the previous one. Plug this in the color, multiply this by 5, and then we get our we get to keep our colors without. And looking at this, I think I've gone a little bit too nuts with these lights here. So I think I'm going to shrink them down and just really keep them in thin strips, as if it's like a row of things going on. I kind of just filled all of these empty spaces, which I think was a bit much. F3, images as planes. Universal twinkle. And I'm going to set up this shader the way that I always have been. There we go. Yeah, that one twinkles a little bit better. Also helped if I turned off viewport denoising. You can see it actually just smooths it out, which is not what we want. But here we go. Let's grab this bit here. Now we've got a nice twinkling bar we can stick anywhere here. P, by loose parts. Right click, set origin to geometry. That's looking pretty rad. I think the last thing to do would be adding kind of just more, let's bring in the red lights. Doing the same thing we always do, but with the red lights now. That's pretty good. Actually, here, let's turn these into a new color. This will be, blue, and can we change this to be the let's see, what's the best way to do this? Plug this into the strength, maybe convert that with the math node so we keep that bright, multiply by like 5 here. But now we can make the color whatever we want, so now maybe this is our, sometimes runaway lights are blue, and I always thought that was kind of rad. Although again, anytime I get too multicoloral, I think I'm thinking multicultural, multicolored on this, I don't like it as much, because this becomes like a rainbow industrial thing. And ideally, you know, the red lights are kind of like caution warning lights, and so I like sticking them on the far edges of things as if they're like a warning to any passing aircraft or something. Like, don't hit this big panel. Okay, let's see how this looks when it's wrapped around the sphere here. So I'm gonna select all of this stuff here and deselect that and hit Control, or select one of these pieces that's already part of the collection and hit Control-Shift-G, which lets me add it to any of the collections that that object is a part of. So I can say 1/8 of the madness. There we go, and now I guess I'll try. Let's see what it looks like. I'm gonna add a sun lamp here. I'm gonna make it nice and bright. Actually, I'm going to give this just the big material. And here I'll just get cube projection. That's fine. I still feel like a lot of these lights are just too powerful. I'm going to shrink them down. I'm going to scale them way down. I think they just work a lot better like that. And I'm going to add just a couple lights here too. It works okay in cycles, but in Eevee it looks a little bit dark. So I'm going to add some warm lighting coming up from below, and some cool lighting kind of coming from the top. Maybe that's too cool. I'm sitting here right now just look. This does not actually look good to me. This looks kind of nasty. And I'm sitting here an hour and 20 minutes, you know, into recording this video, just looking at this, and I don't like this. This doesn't look very good to me. The lights feel kind of muddy and clustery. Everything's too dense. You don't really get a sense of like what the shape is. I'm not particularly thrilled with it, and so we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing. I'm kind of disappointed, actually. For a second, I thought it was all going to come together, but now I'm kind of going, I don't know. Bummer. Well, we'll find out. No? Okay, we're gonna save this. I did some experimenting and figured out why I liked it, and you might be thinking like, oh, Ian, I would be curious to see your experimenting, except it's literally just me sitting like this for like 15 minutes, rotating it, trying to find like an angle I don't hate. So the big issue I had with this is that I had no design going in. You know, obviously, I just made all of these random shapes and kind of hoped I would find something or would look like something in the end. And if I had done anything with any sort of intentionality, that would have probably like not been an issue. Like if I'd sketched out what I wanted, I think that it could have worked a lot better. And so with that in mind, I started trying to find. Well, first I wanted to light it a little bit better. The whole thing was just too high contrast. So silhouette-wise, you know that wherever the sun's hitting is the positive space, but it's just you don't get a great sense of what's going on. So I just loaded in this HDRI, which I liked what it did to the values of everything, but I didn't like that you could see the HDRI in the background here. So I just set up this mix control here. One of them is the HDRI, another is an RGB input, and a light path is going in is camera ray. So if it is a camera ray, what the camera will see is black. But if it's a bounce light or something like that, it still all sees the European night street. So if we do that, we can control what the background looks like without actually affecting the light hitting it, which is pretty nifty to me, because otherwise your only option is to go into like transparent view, and the checkerboard just isn't always what I want. Okay, so with this in mind, what's next? Let's add another one of these, 1/8 of the madness, and I just rotated it. Instead of like having it, you know, all in a big ring, I wanted to keep it a little bit more dense to keep this kind of like giant kind of bridge area right here, and it kind of just felt like it had structure. It almost kind of felt like an aircraft carrier or a battleship or something, and I dug that. And that made me think, like, hey, what if we actually did... and yeah, here we go. And having the white sunlight in here, you know, really does help quite a bit. Like this, at least in the background or something, or it's just kind of like a ship that happens to be in the scene, I would be really happy with this. I would actually use this a lot. But let's make it silly. I'm gonna append in the boat. Let's just do the hull from the cargo ship. I'm gonna duplicate this so it's a thing different than blackline, because I don't know, it was too distracting. I'll delete that. And yeah, let's try just sticking this right in here so it's like a weird I don't even know what's happening here. The other thing is, again, there just wasn't any form to this. It was all complex bits, and so I wanted this big, bold area. Because yeah, the big issue is this, there wasn't any form to it. It was all just the little bits, and so having a hole like this to kind of just like constrain the whole thing, I think helps quite a bit. In fact, if we wanted, we could duplicate this, yes. And let's stick it upside down and just add another little thing here in the background. And now it looks kind of like a big, yeah, that's some cool space battleship situation. I wonder if we could use one of these to almost look like a docking situation, kind of like it's at some spaceport or something like that. Oh yeah, that works. That works pretty good. Here, we'll add a camera. I am very glad. I don't like working for 2 hours on a thing just to look at it and be like, I don't like this. That's always a bummer. And yeah, let's add some sort of haze here just to help separate the foreground from the background and make the whole thing feel big. I know it's not space. It was gonna be space. Sorry, this took a long time to make. I only have like a couple. I have a limited amount of time of socializing in me before my brain starts to like blah 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 blah, and unfortunately, I ran out. Although, and I guess this could be the, you know, going backwards a little bit, but I want to do just a little bit more detailing just here on these runways. So I'm going to just go into local view here, open up big material, and I want to add one more layer on top. I want to add some like runway markings. So I will add in a diffuse shader, mix them together, and what controls the mix is going to be an image texture here. Hitting Control T, bring up this usual stuff. All markings together, and it should look like nonsense. Wow, that does look like nonsense. Also here, let's swap the order here so that it's only where there is alpha channel. Actually, let's drag the alpha channel in here so it's using that instead of just the white values. It should just be a little more high contrast. Yeah, I dig that. Okay, so right now it is all over the place, and if we try to fix that, it's also changing the position of the other material too, underneath. Also, I have an entire video just about road markings and all of that. I'll link to that below. So we want to create a whole new UV map here. UV maps plus, we'll call this one markings. And now you'll notice in the UV editor, we can change if we want to change the usual UV map or markings. And this one will only change the markings, but we haven't applied it to the thing yet. So under shader editor, here's the markings. We gotta change this to our specific UV map, which means, confusingly, we have to delete this and get a new UV map node here that actually lets us type in that we want markings. And now, after we've done all of that, we can go back in the UV editor, make sure that we're in markings, and we can control just where the words are. I'm gonna pull up all markings together here so we can see what we're working with. I'm going to put everything here so we don't see any markings unless we want to. But now I can grab this and hit unwrap. Whoa, it's doing a whole loop. No, okay, I'm just going to do like that. You unwrap, and whatever I want to do here. Look at that. That's nice. And so let's just do a few of these real quick. Actually, I want to add some weird words to the end. Go. You better go. And let's see, I could try to grab all of these and hit U, project from view. And let's see if we can kind of slip them right here. And I think, can we go to individual origins and just blow up each square on its own? Yeah, we can. Okay, that's cool. That's kind of nice. But look how much that actually adds here. Like, especially those runways, they actually feel like a non-embarrassing thing now, as opposed to just like a random extrusion of panels. Okay, so I'm gonna render it. I'm gonna render it. This thing has gone on for so long. Okay, I'm gonna save this, and I'm just gonna composite it just a little bit. And yeah, oh right, that looks like a space thing. And don't forget, all of this stuff is still using the video texture, so all these little lights are twinkling, and I just like it. Everything just feels a little bit alive. Actually, I like how Eevee looks more than Cycles right now. This is kind of cool. It's also fun to hit Shift tilde, and you get into fly mode, and then you just kind of explore the scene and find like new angles and stuff. Like this is kind of cool right here. And I did build this to scale, but if you hit tab, it turns on gravity. But that means you get to actually like explore everything, which is really fun. I like this a lot more now. So I think I will edit this all together and post it. Just remember, if you're trying to do something like this, maybe design it a little bit more ahead of time so you don't just end up with a big pile of random junk, you know? So we just like rotate it like a starfish. Actually, that is kind of cool, isn't it? In a I should probably stop this tutorial and go to bed kind of way, but I mean, you know. All right. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry I was all over the place, but I will talk to you guys later. Keep it real, and yep. Goodbye.